the thought that kept coming to my mind over and over and over. I didn't want to teach this. I've taught it before, about a year ago, and you probably remember, but it's always different. And hopefully I can remember some of the scriptures that are new to me that I haven't used. But we got to thinking about small things. You know, that's what's on my mind, about small things. Who have despised small things? That's in Zechariah chapter 4. But they read 8 through 10, and or 8 through 12, 11. Let's think about Zechariah chapter 4. Chapter 4, start with verse 8 and read through 10 at least.
Chapter what?
4.
I ain't working this morning. Which verses?
8 through 10.
8 through 10.
Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, the hands of Zerubbabel had laid the foundation of this house. His hand shall also finish it. And thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto you. For who hath despised the day of small things? For they shall rejoice, and shall see the plummet in the land of the hand of Zerubbabel. With those 7, they are the eyes of the Lord, which run to and fro through the whole earth.
Okay. That's far. That 10th verse says, for who hath despised the day of small things? I want you to think about small things a little bit today, and what do we usually want? We usually want big things, don't we? Big houses, big beautiful cars, big motorcycles, big this. That's what we want. And a lot of people, they can't get it in their mind that small things are very important. It's small things that we need to look at. We're not despise the day of small things. So it's important. Tasha, one year when she was about Maddie's age, Tasha, it was at Christmas time, if I remember right, and Tasha went to where the Oak Heritage is, where the train is, like you go into the high school or airport. And Tasha went and she went by herself. We took her over there, and they was having a little doodads there. Kids could buy things for their parents. And she was, like I say, well, probably a little less than Maddie's age. But she went in there by herself. She stayed, and you know, Tasha's going to look everything over pretty well. And she studied it and this, that, and other. She finally bought a little bottle. I brought it up there one time. I couldn't find it this time, but it had a ship in it. She knew how I love ships, Navy ships. At one time I was trying to paint those model ships, and I found out I couldn't paint too good, so I quit with that. But I loved ships at that time, because I was right out of the Navy. And she knew I liked to fish. I had a boat. And that's what she really searched hard, but it wasn't very big.
Yeah.
It was just, huh?
I've seen those.
And it wasn't this big. It was a little bitty thing. You just couldn't see it. But what the main point was, it was a small thing, and she gave it to me. As a child, she gave it to me. And you don't think that didn't touch me whenever she gave me that little small gift there. So small is, sometimes it's just priceless. Priceless to think about small things like that. God's Word teaches a lot about small things. If you would, turn to Proverbs chapter 6. Janice, read aloud Proverbs chapter 6, 6 through 8 for us. And let's think about a small, insignificant thing to a lot of people. But the small thing we fix and read about is, excuse me, the small thing we fix and read about, I want you to listen to the wordings and see if you can glean some truths about this passage that's being brought forth and how we can better our lives by doing this.
Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways and be wise.
which having no guide, overseer, or leader, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest.
Go ahead.
How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep and a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy as an armed man. A naughty person, a wicked man, walk with a froward mouth. He winketh with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, he teacheth with his fingers. Frowardness is in his heart. He deviseth mischief continually, he soweth discord. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly. Suddenly shall he be broken without remedy.
All right. Now, what kind of truth can we glean from this small ant? Now, most of the time, we think they're insignificant. We don't want them around, do we? I know Virgil, I went out to Virgil's on back, and he had little ant beds everywhere. You remember that, book, Virgil? You showed me those ants? And Virgil said I could put stuff on here, and they'd pop up over here. And that's the way they are. They run here and yonder, but they are a nuisance in a sense. But you can learn from this this Bible verses in Proverbs chapter 6, valuable lessons from a small, insignificant thing to us. One thing, what's one of the lessons that somebody tell me a lesson you learned from just hearing that this morning about the reading of Proverbs about the ant?
It's diligent.
You're industrious.
Always,
They what now?
You're
always
industrious.
busy.
Always busy, not lazy.
No.
What'd you say, Jimmy?
It's diligent.
Diligent. Can we as Christians learn to be diligent? I talked to Brother Philip yesterday. He was cutting the yard up here, and we stopped and chatted a little bit. I asked him, we were going to preach it. He told me he was going to try to speak on some meetings. But diligently, I got to thinking about diligent, how that he's diligent, working. Everywhere he's at, Brother Philip is working hard. And I stopped him, and he was a nervous wreck trying to want to get away and go back to doing what he was doing. But we stopped and talked a little bit, but we need to be diligent. That's one thing we need to be. Diligent with God's word, and diligent in witnessing, and diligent in all these things. We can learn from that ant to be diligent. We can learn from that ant to not be lazy at all. Now, the Bible says that we, if that's on 2 Thessalonians 3:10, if anyone does not work, neither should he eat. We can learn that lesson there. Yeah, we have people that do not want to work for a living. And it kind of irritates me a little bit, because you and I have had to work hard all our lives, most of us. And you got people out there that just will not work, and they're lazy. And another lesson that I learned from this little few words in Proverbs 6 is they united together. Is an ant united? Actually, an ant, if you'll watch an ant, they'll have a piece of bread or something, and to my understanding, they pick up 1,000 pounds to their weight, what they are considered. I don't know how true that is, but I read that. But nevertheless, they're real strong. And we as Christians need to be strong in the Lord. But that's another lesson, but you can learn that lesson of unity. They'll help one another. If one of those ants grabs a bug, you've probably seen it before, and he grabs a bug or something that's real heavy for him, what does the other ants do? They come to him and help him. Who has despised these small things? We can learn. Now, if we see somebody that needs help, or we like the Good Samaritan over there where the priest walked by and he didn't help the man, and the other one walked by, you'd think surely they would help. They were men of God. But the enemy went over and helped. And he was united with his enemy, with the Good Samaritan was. So there's unity. They're not lazy. They're diligent. all these things are true about those little few verses there in Proverbs chapter 6. But one thing I learned, and you've learned too, I'm sure, if you lived over 2 days in your life, you probably learned it. Ants will bite you. They will fight you. They will take care of their calling. And Paul says we're to what? Over in Timothy, we're to fight the good fight of faith and lay hold on to eternal life. These ants will fight you until death. They're good soldiers. You have soldier ants. Well, guess what? We need to be good soldiers for Jesus Christ. He's the captain of our salvation. Jesus is the captain of our salvation, and we're under the captain, and we need to be going forth to battle and to fight and be good soldiers. And the Bible tells us once you are a soldier for Christ, then he tells us there is no what? Discharge. Once you're in the army of God, there is no discharge no more. When I was in service, you could get a discharge. You could get an honorable discharge, which I did, or you can get a dishonorable discharge. But in God's army, those fighters and those soldiers, there was no discharge whatsoever. So who hath despised small things? Virgil, how about turning to John, that's St. John now, John chapter 6. And I want you to read a few verses here, 13 verses to be exact. John chapter 6, start with verse 1 and read through 13. And I want you to think about who have despised small things.
After these things, Jesus went over to Galilee, which is Sea of Tiberias, and a great multitude followed him, because they saw his miracles, which he did on them that were diseased. And Jesus went up into the mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was nigh. When Jesus then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he said unto Philip, Whence shall we buy bread, what these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Excuse me. Philip answered him, 200 penny worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said unto him, There is a lad here which has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes, but what are they among so many? And Jesus said, Make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, and number about 5,000. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise of the fishes as much as they would.
Just stop right there. Think about this. This lad or this young man, he was out there and Jesus had been teaching and preaching, and it come time to eat. And I got a brother, bless his heart, he's on schedule on everything. I could be on the golf course and he'll do this. I said, what is it? And then he don't say nothing. I said, what are you looking at the watch for? It's almost time to eat. And because 12 o'clock, he eats at 12 o'clock. I don't care if he's on the moon, he's going to eat at 12 o'clock. And nothing's going, I've tried to change him from that. And I've got a lot of it in me too, but my brother is on schedule. Everything he does is on schedule. And he's going to do it that way, and you're not going to change him. And this kid goes out there, and it comes dinner time. And it's time to eat. So everybody, Jesus told them, sit down over here. And did they have anything to eat? There was one lad, one young man there had 2 small fishes, and I think of Brother David when I think about the small fishes. They say he put 10 fish in his pocket, but he said it's bigger than butter beans. Is that what your theory is?
That's right.
But this little kid he had 2 small fishes and 5 loaves of bread, and then now a multitude is a lot of people. There's a multitude of people there. Virgil, I ain't forgot you neither. There's a multitude of people out there, and Jesus, he had there was a miracle happening up there. Can you imagine taking 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and that child was going out there to stay all day because he brought his lunch, hadn't he? Nobody else had done that, evidently. But anyway, Jesus took that fish, those fish, and that bread, and fed a multitude of people. Does that show the power of God there? And the kindness and love of God to feed his people like that? But that is an insignificant thing, is to despise small things. That was just a small thing. But it said that 5,000 were fed, and then what happened after that?
12 baskets left.
There were 12 baskets full. I don't know how big the baskets were, but there was 12 baskets still there, full of fish and bread. Do we have a loving God? Absolutely. And he's telling us over there not to despise these small things. Certainly we can't pass by everywhere in 1 Samuel 17, starting verse 1, you want to read it later on, but David took how many stones to fight the enemy? 5. Why did David take these 5 little stones to fight the giants? Anybody know?
Well, he had 4 brothers.
He had some brothers, didn't he? Exactly. I think that's the truth of the matter is, he didn't just go out there to fight that one. He had in his mind, I'm going to get him, I'm going to cut his head off, which he did with his sword, but he was going to go after the others if necessary. Those 5 small students. Now, did David actually, David killed the giant because God was with him. That's the only reason that stone. Now, David was good with a slingshot. Not slingshots like we have, but he'd run them around and then turn one end loose and it goes. And he got pretty accurate. But you think back to all the way back to David's very beginning of before it mentions all that. David was in a small town, and all the brothers, whenever they come to get a king, all the brothers were looked over, but one little lad back there. Who was he? It was David. And he was the one that was the small one that later became the king. You follow? God takes little things and makes big things out of them. I thought about over about in Exodus chapter 4, Exodus 4:2, it shows the power of God whenever Moses had one small rod. What did he do with that small rod? All right, the Lord told him to throw it down first. And he threw it down and it turned into what? A snake, didn't it? This small thing. This is showing the power of God again. This little, small, insignificant thing. Who have despised small things? We have. But God took that small rod and used it in a powerful way. And I thought about over old Samson. Whenever Samson, first of all, he went to check on his wife, and his daddy, I believe it was, or his daddy-in-law, I can't remember, one or the other, had given his wife to somebody else. Well, Samson got pretty ticked off about that. He grabbed a bunch of foxes and tied their tails together, I believe it was 300, and burnt the cornfield down to the Philistines and everything. But all this come up to the point where he took a jawbone of an ass. Is that a big thing? And he took that one jawbone and killed 1,000 men with that jawbone of that ass. And he threw it to the side, and then that same little insignificant jawbone, God used it again, not only just to kill those 1,000 of the enemy, but he got real thirsty. And it said that God hollowed out a place in that jawbone and water came out of it. God is good to us. And we don't need to despise these little things that's taught in the Word of God. I can go to a lot of different ones like that, and characters. I'll just kind of mention this one there. Well, let's read it. Let's read James, how about reading 1 Kings 17:12? And let's think about this woman, widow woman. She had a little meal and a little oil.
What verses?
17:12, start with verse 12.
So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had appointed, saying, Come to me again the third day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave.
I might be wrong on that.
First Kings chapter 12. verse-
No, 17.
Chapter 17, verse 2.
Oh, sorry. And she said, As the Lord thy God liveth, I have not a cake, and a handful of meal, and a barrel, and a little oil, and a cruse. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, that we may eat it and die. And Elijah said unto her, Fear not, go and do as thou hast said, and make me thereof a little cake first, and bring it unto me, and after make for thee and for thy son. For thus saith the Lord God of Israel, the barrel of meal shall not waste, neither shall the cruse of oil fail, until the day that the Lord sendeth rain upon the earth.
Well, I stopped right there. Basically, there was a widow woman there and her son, and she had a handful of meal, and a little bit of oil. She had enough for one meal, basically, and then she said, my son's going to die after this. But Elijah told her to do some other things different. And over in Philippians 4:19 it says, My God shall supply all what? You need, or you want. Which one? You need. We want a lot of things. But God says in Philippians 4:19 that God will supply. He was supplying for this widow woman. And she was down to her last meal. And this last little bit that she had. But she followed and did what Elijah said, and they were fed, and God sustained them or took care of them in that. And I got thinking about the little birds. You know, God knows every little bird, every sparrow that falls to the ground. You know, when we read about Zechariah 4:10, 11, and 12, and all, it says, The eyes of the Lord are over them. Well, God's eyes is on those little sparrows, and if one falls to the ground, he moves back. God knows every hair on your head, even mine. So little birds were important to God. Then he tells us over there that I believe it's in John, he says, Little children, forbid them not, for they're such as the kingdom of heaven. All the people didn't want the children there. Well, children are important. Children are important to the church and to God. So we don't need to despise little children. It says, Suffer not little children, forbid them not, such as the kingdom of God. In John chapter 12, verse 24, I'm going to kind of paraphrase what I'm going to say right quick instead of read it. But if you take one little piece of corn, you think about this. Now, I don't know how many farmers we got in here, but the Bible teaches us that you take one kernel of corn and you set it over here and you don't mess with it, it's not going to bring no corn in it. It has to die before it can bring forth fruit. You can take one piece of corn now and you put it in the ground and it starts germinating, or whatever you call it, and it'll start growing, and you take that one kernel of corn that you put in the ground and you take it sprouts out ears of corn, and you take just one ear off the stalk. You can have many stalks there, but you take one ear to pull it and chuck it back, and there'll be hundreds of corn there. Just one little piece of corn. And what is that saying about our lives? Do we have to crucify the flesh and die daily, Paul said, to have that life? I'm not talking about eternal life, we're talking about now life. It'll bring forth that fruit. And if we do what God says then we'll enjoy that kingdom right now where we live. So that's in John 12:24. In Matthew, well, in Luke, I won't go through it, but I'll just paraphrase it too, because we're running out of time. But there was a wee little man, who was,
Zacchaeus.
everybody knows the story about the wee little man who climbed up into a sycamore tree to see Jesus. And you know what Jesus told that little man? He said, he'd done confessed, the little man confessed that he was a thief. And he was a tax collector. He confessed, I'm a thief and I'll give back fourfold, I think it was, of what I've took from people. So that little man was important to Jesus. And he wanted to see Jesus too and confess. And we need to confess some things. But he climbed up in the sycamore tree and went through the crowd of people. He had to do some working labor to get through there. I picture him a little short man like Danny DeVito is. You ever see him? I picture him like Zacchaeus. And Zacchaeus couldn't see Jesus. He's coming. Jesus went out of the way to come to that place. And he climbed up into a sycamore tree. And he could see Jesus. And Jesus told him what? Come down, Zacchaeus. Today is the day of your salvation. Today is. Now, Zacchaeus was already a child of God, wasn't he? But he had salvation that day because he was obedient to God and what God said to do, to repent and turn and confess. So that wee little man, to others, he was just insignificant. But the Bible says, despise not the day of little small things. We'll just quit there. You see the picture that small things are important? Little small things. A little kindness, a little this, a little that. We need to start looking at those things that we need to be doing and not despise small things. Anybody got anything else? Jenna?
I thought about the widow's mite, that it was a small portion that she gave, but it was all she had, so.
She gave everything she had. There's a lot of different ones we can go to, and we don't need to despise. I'll close out with this one little scripture here. You know, in 1 Corinthians 1:27-29 it says, but God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to be confounded wise. God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. So we need to look at those small things and think more about it and dwell on it and realize that small things are important.